Well, hello everybody. This is Gene from CommerceBlend. And before we get started today, just to let you know, we'll be sharing a recording of today's session afterwards. And if you have any questions that surface during the course of the presentation, feel free to pop them into the Q&A tab at the bottom of the console. Anything we don't get to today, we'll follow up via email. And so for those of you who are not already familiar, CommerceBlend is a community of merchants and e-commerce thought leaders that were designed to give you a competitive advantage in growing your business. Since there are over 8,000 companies in the e-commerce ecosystem now, CommerceBlend is looking for those that can have a great impact on your business right away, and trying to get thought leaders from those companies to join us, answer pertinent questions that will be on the minds of many merchants. And for today, we're very fortunate to have Alex Rosen from Bolt. And the topic that we're going to address, at least to start out, is how can you increase your conversion rates with a better checkout experience? So without further ado, I'm going to pass the reins over to Alex, and we will get started.
Awesome. Thanks, Gene. Really appreciate it. And thank you for everyone joining us today. I hope you've had a great week, and happy Friday. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Hey, Gene, can you see that on your end? Just want to make sure it went through for everyone.
Yes, it's looking good.
Amazing. All right, everyone. So again, my name is Alex Rosen. I manage partnerships here for channel partnerships on the East Coast. I've been with Bolt close to 5 to 6 months at this point, but working in e-commerce throughout the last close to 6 years. So really excited to talk to you today about Bolt and the problems that we set out to solve. From a high level, I was thinking for our agenda today, we'll talk a little bit about the team, give you an introduction on Bolt. We'll jump into some of the problems that we're solving and really our approach to solving those problems, and then hone in on our checkout optimization as well as our fraud prevention technology, and then talk a little bit about who we work with today and who would be a good merchant fit for Bolt. Talking about the team, we were started back in 2014. We scaled the team over through the first 4 years. We were in beta mode, stealth mode, making sure that we hire the best people from all over the industry, as well as looking at our funding. We were looking at really growing a rocket ship here at Bolt. We were then publicly available as a technology in early 2018, and we've scaled close to 350 clients in the last 2 years. We're processing close to $1.5 billion in annual transactions, and it's just been a really exciting time to be at Bolt. We're really hone in on our clients' problems and going out to solve those problems, and we're obsessed with our customers, and that's why I'm so excited to be working at Bolt now. But to jump into it, talk about some of the problems that we're solving. First, the real problem in e-commerce, and I know probably everyone on the phone has talked to someone internally at your team or maybe a customer of yours, but we know that it's close to 70% of consumers drop off at the checkout. So clearly, marketers are spending a lot of money getting that consumer to the checkout, and then 70%, even higher than that in some cases, are dropping off, which means that same marketer that just spent that amount of money to get the consumer to their site and put items in their cart, they're going to have to go ahead and retarget those consumers, which is just a ton of wasteful spend. So with Bolt, one of the first issues that we look to solve is increasing checkout conversion. And I'll go into how we do this, but just wanted to highlight one of the first problems that we set out to solve. The second problem that we set out to solve is the rise of fraud within e-commerce. We know that fraud is growing nearly twice as fast as e-commerce sales. And so what's going on are that merchants are going out and implementing different fraud prevention technologies that are supposed to save their business. With that, a lot of the times these fraud prevention technologies are siloed outside of the tech stack of that same buyer or the marketer. So which means they don't really have data throughout that customer journey on their site. They're not really getting data from the checkout. And so what happens is we see a huge rise in false positives. And I'll give you a story for those on the phone today that might not know what a false positive is. A false positive, and I'll just give you something that happened to me recently. I moved from Chicago to New York about 5 or 6 months ago at this time. And I was on Bed Bath & Beyond. I went to go put items in my cart. And as I went to go check out, my checkout was failed. It automatically rejected my order, and that's because my billing information was tied to my place in Chicago, but I was shipping to a new address in New York, and for some reason, that fraud detection technology that they were using declined my purchase. I'm sure it's the nightmare of every single e-commerce marketer here. I then found the same items on Amazon, and because I'm a Prime member, I checked out within 2 minutes. And so what we're finding is that on average, close to 1.7% of all transactions are falsely declined due to false positives. And I'll go into how Bolt goes ahead and solve that problem. Just to talk about our approach, again, from a high level, I think the slide does a really good job of highlighting the two problems and where we really go out and try to solve those problems. First, with the hyper-optimized checkout, by removing friction in the checkout, and I'll go into some live examples in a second, as well as combined with that focused on conversion risk engine, that fraud prevention technology. At the end of the day, we're really setting out to have more completed transactions, which is obviously more money in your pocket at the end of the day. And for Bolt, we, as much as we do handle the checkout, we are processing those payments, we are handling fraud. I think this slide gives a really great high level of where we see Bolt. So obviously, when you're starting on the far left, we are hosting the checkout, we are solving for the fraud, but we are also integrated to a lot of the leading payment processors and gateways, including Vantiv WorldPay, Stripe, Braintree, CyberSource, which should be live in a little while here, as well as integrations to Apple Pay and PayPal. And then we're also integrating with Avalara and looking at a few more other tax providers. And so just know that Bolt is looking to integrate with the leading technologies to make it even easier for you to go live with Bolt. Diving into the hyper-optimized checkout, just wanted to let you know that we are first built mobile first. We are continuously learning across our few hundred clients what's working, what's not. I'll talk to you in a little bit about some of the A/B tests that we're doing, but from a high level, we're really looking at what data can we collect in order to make the checkout as much positive as possible and have the highest conversion. And so some of the optimizations that we're looking at is pre-populating certain fields, which I'll show you in a second, removing certain fields like having the need to fill out a billing address, whatnot. But we're looking across the board and seeing how do we make that checkout even easier for the consumer. Just know if you were to go with Bolt, you are able to customize everything from the logos to the colors to different alerts, different order notes, as well as removing and adding different fields, as well as company names. Some of the fields that you could customize is everything from different drop-downs to buttons, different error messages, checkbox, you name it. So you could really go wild to make Bolt look and feel like that website. And I did want to just show you what a side-by-side video of a regular checkout on Magento versus Bolt. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make this full screen so everyone can see it. And obviously it's not letting me play it now. Give me 1 second, everyone. All right, so I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to make this larger and to skip ahead. So just to pause here, this is our client HyperIce. On the left side of the screen, you'll see their checkout before they went live with Bolt. This is a native Magento checkout. On the right, you'll see the out-of-the-box Bolt checkout and really see the A/B test or side-by-side test, I'm sorry, of Bolt versus the native Magento checkout. So I'm going to hit play, and you're going to see on the right, the Bolt modal overlay immediately pops up, leading the consumer to fill in their information. As you can see, it's a singular form. It's very easy to fill out. As you can see on the left, it took a little bit longer to load, but as you can tell, there are so many fields to fill out. It's very daunting for that consumer, and that's probably one of the reasons why we see such a huge drop-off at checkout. And so as you can see on the right, that consumer is already off to the races, filling out their payment information. As you could tell, we do not request for the billing address. That's because of our fraud prevention technology. And so we're removing that friction, removing those extra fields that a consumer needs to fill out when they're checking out. And as you can see on the right, that consumer is already done. I'm going to go ahead and pause this. There is another minute left of the video. I'll save everyone on this call today that extra minute to go through it. The main point is just to show you what that native checkout looks like versus an out-of-the-box Bolt checkout. And I'm going to go back and show you an example of what this looks like on a mobile device. So as soon as my screen loads in here, we'll jump into it. So on the far left, you'll see the native checkout on Macy's today. And on the right, this is just a out-of-the-box checkout for Bolt. So as you can see, there's continuous scrolling on the mobile site for Macy's, again, making it more daunting for that buyer, that consumer. Whereas on the far right, it's very easy. It's a simple pop-up. The consumer doesn't need to scroll. They fill out their information, and we're just making it really easy for them to check out. What we've done is integrated with Google addresses. So as a consumer goes to check out, we're automatically compiling that address and pre-filling in that city, the zip, and the state. So as they go to type it in, it just saves the consumer those extra, 4 or 5 fields that they need to fill in. Again, making it even easier for the consumer, removing friction within checkout. And obviously, Bolt across the industry, we're looking at everyone else, and I'll show you on the next slide really the breakdown. But just know we're not only focused on tablet, not only focused on mobile and desktop, we're focused on everything. And as we look to show you kind of the differences between Bolt and whether it's BigCommerce or Magento or Shopify, what we're seeing across the board is it takes around a minute or more on many of the other platforms to check out, whereas Bolt, we're around 30 seconds. So I'm going to show you why we're up to 30 seconds, and I'm going to walk you through what does that look like for the consumer. Obviously, we showed you those 3 steps, filling out the shipping, filling out your information, and obviously your credit card at the end. But Bolt is looking to take that 30 seconds and make it even faster by creating a one-click checkout. And what I mean by that is when a consumer goes to your site and they go to shop, maybe it's their first time buying online, but they know that they'll be back again, they could check a box on the actual checkout modal overlay that saves their information for next time. We're tokenizing their information in a secure way on the back end. So the next time they go to your site, we will remember their information. So on the far left side, the 2 boxes you'll see is that first time that a consumer saves their information, they're going to get a text message to their mobile device with a code. They put in that code into the website. We're automatically saving their information. It's that second authentication, similar to the way Google or Facebook or many of the other popular technologies today use. And so the next time that they're on your site, as soon as they type in their email address, we're automatically texting them a 6-digit code to their device. They fill in that code and everything is saved from their credit card to their shipping address. So all they have to just select is the shipping method. How fast do they want that product to arrive? And so this is a little bit of a zoomed in version. Just want to make sure that everyone here could see that. I know it's a hard remote, but yeah, just wanted to highlight how we're looking to take that 30 seconds to make it even faster. And again, the whole theme is removing friction within checkout. All right, everyone. So we talked about checkout. We talked about ease of use. Now we're going to talk about fraud detection. And I know I mentioned the rise of false positives. Clearly, it's a major pain point in the industry with over $100 billion of sales lost due to the false positives. And so the way that Bolt looks out to solve this issue is that we have a team on our side. We are looking at over 200 variables, and these could be activities like consumer on your site, they're copy pasting a credit card from an Excel spreadsheet, or they might be using an IP address that is associated with fraudulent purchases in the past. They might be doing some sketchy stuff on their site, on your site, and typing really slowly or whatnot. But we're looking at over 200 different variables, and it is an algorithmic process, but we do have a human team on our side. Just in case that anything does slip through, we want to make sure that we can detect it. So we have a professional team on our side looking at every purchase that goes through. Because a lot of our clients, before they sign up with Bolt, they usually have 2, maybe sometimes even 3 people looking at every single order, and they're really guessing. They're looking at the billing address, they're looking at the shipping address, and with Bolt, that's why you really get that 99.5% order approval rate, is because we are so positive by the time the consumer is going to check out, we already have the data within the checkout. We're automatically reviewing that order. And because we're really experts in the field, our clients know to trust us. But of course, they could always override any decision that we make at the end of the day. So something that differentiates us from a lot of the other players in the space is we identify 100% of the fraud that does slip through. So if there's a purchase that slips through for some reason, we will pay that merchant out of pocket 100% of that expense. And so really, our clients look to Bolt as that safety net at the end of the day, that insurance policy, just to make sure that not only are you increasing conversion on your site, but you're also reducing fraud and reducing a lot of the liability and risk that merchants take on when selling online. So did want to talk about just some of the people that we do work with. This is Dita Eyewear. They are a client. They've been with us for a while. They are on Magento, and they were using Riskified for fraud. When they switched to us, they did see a huge increase in abandoned cart rate, close to 46%. They saw a 72% increase in site-wide conversion, which is awesome, and then close to a 30% increase in order approval rate. These are extremely expensive sunglasses, and so they do have a high likelihood of fraud. And so really Ditto looking to Bolt, knowing that we are the best in the industry when it comes to detecting this fraud, they really felt secure knowing that they were going with Bolt. I did want to show you another example, different industry, home and garden. One of our great clients, Pollywood Outdoors, obviously they saw a great increase in coming to Bolt with that 6x return investment when switching with Bolt. They were using Magento 2, they were using Stripe, and they also just did in-house review. So this is an example where they weren't using a third party. They had people on their team manually checking every single order, which obviously that takes a lot of time and effort. So they switched to us. They're a great example of an awesome client, and just wanted to highlight that really Bolt is meant for clients selling all different types of goods, and I'll go into that right now. So really Bolt does well with clients in the apparel and accessories range, home goods, home and garden, health and beauty, different apparel, whether it's footwear, whatnot, sporting goods, jewelry, you name it, consumer electronics, really all across the board. And so if you have any questions, I'll share you my email at the end of this. I'm happy to discuss further if you think that you might be a good fit. We do have one minimum when it comes to joining Bolt. You do have to be doing over 1 million in annual transactions. That's just the baseline of our services. And so if you are doing over a million online and believe that Bolt might be a good fit, definitely reach out. I would love to help strategize to see if we would be a good fit there. But I did want to talk about some of our partnerships in this space. We do have integrations with Magento 1, Magento 2, BigCommerce, Neva, Salesforce Commerce Cloud, both Site Genesis and SFRA, WooCommerce, many others, and we're always looking out at who's the best of the best, making integrations to those platforms. Beyond, obviously, e-commerce platforms I did talk about earlier, but I want to just remind everyone on the phone today, we are integrating with leading payment processors, as well as different tax companies and shipping providers as well. So I did want to talk about, obviously, who we were a good fit for. It's obviously really good to talk about who you might not be a good fit for. So just beyond that $1 million mark, we are not good for companies that are selling digital goods, any firearms, or any non-FDA related approved supplements, and then as well as CBD and adult media, whatnot. Really, that's because of the payment processor side, and kind of our hands are tied there. And then, yes, all of our merchants are based in the US. We are thinking about moving international very soon. For those on the line that might be international and creating sites all over the globe, I would say in a few months we'll be ready for that. So definitely check back in with me if you're selling international and have any questions. And then did just want to point out that we are moving away from supporting Shopify and Shopify Plus merchants. That's really just due to the billing API and some of the partner stuff on the back end. As I mentioned before, when I started out, we are customer obsessed, and we want all of our customers to have the best experience possible with Bolt. And due to that, we, unfortunately have to move away from some partnerships and whatnot, just again, knowing that we want to make sure that clients have the best experience with Bolt. That's part of the reason why we do have some of these limitations and moving away from some partnerships or whatnot. So again, just wanted to say thank you for joining me on a Friday. Really appreciate you all taking your time. I am more than happy to talk to anyone on the phone here. If you have any questions, my email is alex.rosen@bolt. more than happy to help strategize or connect you with different individuals throughout my organization. Would love to help. And thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to speak to you all today.
Alex, that was a very inspiring presentation. It makes me wonder, any merchant that's not on Shopify that's doing over $1 million, why would they not want to use Bolt? And just understanding clearly how you optimize checkout with pre-populating fields, no required billing address, which is huge because of your fraud detection. And then like Google Address integration really seems like it's cutting the checkout time in half, if not more, for certain platforms. So really fantastic, very well presented. A couple of questions that are, let's see, we have one that's in there. So here, this one comes from a Carolina. For one of our customers, they sell, let's see, expensive 3D printers, and order fraud has been an issue. Do you have an integration with Aiden and BigCommerce? Or Adian, am I pronouncing it right?
Oh, yes, Adian, yes. We are fully integrated with BigCommerce. We have an awesome partnership with them. Regarding Adian, I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong. We are in talks with them about integration. The talks are going well. I do not have a fair timeline of when that should be ready, but I would say within the next quarter or so. And of course, we're always looking for merchants with a need for that integration because it does help speed things on our end regarding roadmap. And so if you are a merchant that's working with BigCommerce, that's easy. With Adian, we're already moving forward with that partnership, and happy to give you kind of a up-to-date insight on our talks there.
Oh, that's great. Thank you for that question, Carolina. And then question from Mike, how does the pricing structure work?
Yeah, great question. So with Bolt, we really price in two different ways. So we look at the payment processing side, and then we look at the fraud prevention side. On the payment processing side, if you are looking to use Bolt as a PayFac, we will come close or match the current rates that you're using today. But if you're using Stripe or Braintree or CyberSource or Advanced WorldPay, you name it, you could then stay on your current provider and you won't have to pay that fee through Bolt. And so that'll actually cut down, your costs basically in half. But if you are, looking to use Bolt and you do have to use the fraud prevention side, that's one mandatory piece of our technology. And so you will have to pay a percentage on the fraud side. It is a sliding scale, and it's really due to the fraud risk. So if you're, a merchant selling low dollar, makeup, whatnot, that might not have a high likelihood of fraud, you'll be paying a very, tiny fee. Whereas if you're a company that has a ton of fraud history and whatnot, it might be a little bit higher. But again, it really just depends on the merchant and their needs and whatnot. So I'm happy to talk to you if there are any specific use cases and try to figure out, what that might cost for you.
Thanks for that question, Mike. And then here's one from Maria. What payment gateways do you integrate with? Do you integrate with PayPal? I know you flashed a graphic on that earlier.
Yep.
But I'm trying to remember as well. I think PayPal was on the list, right?
Yeah, PayPal is on the list. Apple Pay is on the list. And I will go back to that slide right now just to show everyone on the call here today once this loads. So we're integrated on the payment processing side, Advanced WorldPay, Stripe, Braintree, CyberSource, Adian, as I mentioned, just 2 seconds ago, that is coming soon. And then in terms of digital wallets, we're fully integrated with Apple Pay as well as PayPal. And so for the PayPal, you could either have the button show up even before the consumer goes through the Bolt checkout, or if you want the PayPal to be kind of included within the Bolt checkout, there's possibilities of adding that as a different payment option, both of which are okay with us, and happy to talk to you a little bit about what's best for your business.
Thank you for that question, Maria. Here's another question that's actually not in the console, and this one's a little specific and perhaps a bit technical, but would a scenario for using Bolt be something like this? If someone had an ERP and they wanted to be able to authorize a payment on the website, but capture the payment when they're ready for fulfillment in the ERP. And so then they might need to pass like an authorization token or something. Is that something where you can store the payment information and pass a token? Or in that scenario, first off, is it possible with Bolt? Will that help to solve that problem? Because most e-commerce platforms will not save the credit card information. Just wondering if that's a possibility.
Yeah, I would need to learn a little bit more about it and probably bring some technical people on my end. It really depends on who you're using, either for the ERP or e-com platform or whatnot. So I would need to know a little bit more about the specifics there. But from a high level, I do believe it's possible when you're doing fulfillment, maybe later on, or I would just need to know the time window and whatnot. Sure. And so whoever asks that, please reach out to me and I'll flash up my email at the bottom of the screen here shortly, and feel free to reach out to me and I'm happy to help.
Excellent. Well, thanks for all the questions today. Alex, thank you again for a great presentation, a lot of insights and inspiration around improving the checkout process. And as I mentioned earlier, we'll share the recording via email with everyone who joined. And if you're not a member already, please join the CommerceBlend community, looking for future events and access to great resources and some discounts and promotions from partners within the community. So once again, thank you, Alex, and thank you everyone for joining today. Have a fantastic weekend.
Thanks, Gene. Thanks, everyone else.
Talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.